Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's January 27th. We are going to move into a webinar about the Return to Self Intuitive Coaching Program. But as we get started for that, let's just take a second to close our eyes and just breathe. Maybe this is the first time you've had a chance to breathe today. But take a few moments. And if you can, step into the observer, witness consciousness of who you are. The I am. A little visual I love to do is I take part of my mind and I place it on the ceiling. And I see myself below. I am stepping into the witness of this character called Divi, Jack, Joe, Jill. And at the same time, I'm stepping into the witness. I'm leaning into the truth of the power of who I am. The energy that creates worlds. The energy of the divine I am. And when I am here in the energy of truth, I can see that little character on Mother Earth, sitting in a chair with 40,000 thoughts a day, and perhaps putting meaning where there isn't meaning. So see if you can do that for a few minutes. Withdrawing meaning from everything that the character called Jill, Jack, John is doing. Welcoming in more into the stillness of the I am. Welcoming in the stillness of who you are. And noticing if you're willing to lean into the truth of the potential I am, regardless if you're driving or walking. Just, oh, there you go. Allow your mind to lean into the vastness of your power. Knowing that that is real. That is the truth of who you are. You are not this body. You are not these worries. You are free. Spend about 5 or 6 deep, slow breaths here. And then start to come back to the room, back to this moment, opening your eyes when you're ready. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. So great. So great. Thank you for being here. So this class is about our Return to Self coaching program. There's a few of you who are on this call who are part of the coaching program right now. And we're going to talk a bit about the program, but also just talk about intuition and talk about the gifts that we have at birth, that if you're in a community like what I run, you probably have these gifts, but you just don't know them. And we're going to talk a little about that and lots more, and we're going to have fun. So welcome. And if you're on a computer and aren't driving, see if you can open up your chat box and maybe just say where you're from. That would be amazing. And then we can know what parts of the world we're touching right now. So I'll give you guys a second to do that. Just tell me where you're from. And we got some Vancouver people. Amazing, Sharon. Great to have you. What else do we got here? We've got Vancouver. Amazing, Amanda. We got Lisbon. I love that. I plan to get there this year. We got Vancouver, Leanne, amazing. And if you don't know, I'm in Vancouver, it's really why. I've got the UK, love it, Louise. Central Port, Oregon, love that. And Nashville, great. We got some spectrums from different places. So great to have you. And if the listening people can go back in time and type in, they can't, but that's cool. Well, we all know you're here. So when I prep this Return to Self coaching program, I usually prep a PowerPoint. And the reason I do that is because if you've ever worked with me before, I can, a lot of my teaching style is very organic and very much in the moment and very much in the flow. And as a result, I'll ping a lot. And because I want to tell you about the coaching program, I don't want to ping too much. So I want to stay focused, and I'll ping at a certain point in this class. So let me just hit share screen and we'll get going here. One sec. Where's share screen? There it is. Share. There you go. Perfect. And just so y'all know, I'm not that techy. I'll do the best I can, but we'll see what happens. So you guys can see that, right? Yeah, so we can see it. Okay, so the Return to Self coaching program, it starts in February of this year. And I'll want to tell you a bit about it, but also a bit about me and what we're doing. So this first slide says, who are you? We got that for different parts of the world. Amazing. So in this hour, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to tell you a bit about the program, why I set it up, a bit about my background, and a lot about what you're going to get out of it. And at the end or during this webinar, we'll do some intuitive readings if you want. So if you have some questions, things that are stirring for you, please feel free to ask. And I want to say, as I get going here, I don't believe I'm special. Like, I don't believe I'm a special alien that came out to the planet to teach this. I just believe I was called to do this. And people that are in my communities are typically a lot like me because that's the resonance of the energy of what you draw in. So, okay, my mission statement. My mission is to empower people with intuitive and spiritual guidance. And what I do is I help them to heal, gain clarity, and thereby step into their life mission. That's a bit about what I do. And what a vision statement is if everybody did this work across the entire planet, then what would happen is joy, peace, and abundance would become the dominant vibrations. Right now, the dominant vibration, you probably know, is fear, guilt, grief, and anger. So if everybody does this work of learning intuitive techniques, spiritual techniques, they heal their mind, they get clarity, they actually start living their purpose, then what's going to happen is we're going to have more peace and more joy. We won't be angry and projecting our pain onto our partners. We won't be angry and projecting our pain onto our kids. We'll be living what we came to be on the planet. That's a bit about who I'm all about. I'll make this really brief. So a bit about me. I used to be a family doctor. I graduated in class of 93. So you guys can do the math on that one. And then I went from medicine, and then I went into teaching yoga in my 30s, and I ran yoga studios for about 10 years. And then during that time, tell people about 21 years ago, because my kid turns 20 in a few weeks, my intuition went right up. And I didn't know what was going on. And I went and did some intuition courses just on a whim. And this is before social media. So it's not like I could find, I think Facebook was out, but I can't remember. It wasn't like there was like plethora of people doing this work. So I did some intuition courses without a plan to ever do it as work. It was just for myself. And then I came back to medicine after leaving yoga, and I started the business that I've been running for 15 years, an intuitive coaching business. I had an old mentor and really great friend named Lynette Brown, and amazing woman. And we ran a program together for 7 years called the Intuitive Coaching Program. And then last year, I revolutionized it into something called Return to Self, which is what this webinar is all about. And Return to Self is a program that's a 6-month-long program that a few of you are in. And it's an amazing program. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And there's another enrollment of it in February, and I'd love you to join me if you feel a pull. But in this program, let's talk a bit about it and what I do, talk about intuition as well. So my intention with the Return to Self. So we have two voices inside of us. We have the I am, which is the divine voice inside of you that only holds love and passion and freedom and empowerment and joy and love. That's who we truly are. And then we have this thing we call the ego part, which is the part that you forgot that you were the I am. And the ego lives in the victim, the victimizer, the hero role. So my intention with the Return to Self is to get you to trust the I am voice, the intuitive voice, the spirit voice. And the more you practice the I am, the more you be who you said you'd be before you came onto the planet. And the more you do that, the more you get inspired to help others, because your pain is a mirror to your client's pain. So when you move through your stuff, you can help 10 other people. So my intention is to help you move from the crazy ego voice into the I am voice, and you practice that. And as a result, you'll wake up your intuition. And as a result, you can coach other people. And then the end result is you make money from something you love to do. And what I believe is to why you're intuitive, is why you're sensitive. And so many sensitives, and I know a lot of you on the call, have been challenged with your sensitivity because it's hurt you, right? It's caused illness. It's hard to go to parties. It's, when you're in a relationship, you always think you're doing something wrong. That's what we do as sensitives, is we turn that intuition and we turn it against ourselves. But I want to teach you how to use that same skill set that might be hurting you right now and actually flip it to be of service, because that's what I did. I had chronic pain and chronic illnesses. It was all my intuition turned inwards. I was picking up my patient's pain. I always thought my ex-husband was mad at me. I was picking up stuff, and I didn't know it was my intuition. I was picking up stuff in the energy field. I was making stories that it was about me. And then I learned what my intuition was, and I started to flip it. Then I was able to heal my body, heal my pain, heal my mind, and help others. And that's what I want to help you with. That's what I love to do, is teach you how to connect to that. Yesterday afternoon, I was teaching a workshop at a friend's place on guilt. It was super fun. And there were women and men. There were about 40% men in that workshop. And I was able to show these women and men, but especially women who are moms, because there are a bunch of them, struggle in guilt, whether you be a dog mom or a human mom, doesn't really matter. We had a mix in the room. And within 5 minutes, they said I changed their lives by showing them that because that was my pain. My pain was, I thought I was useless as in being a mom, and therefore I had to be good to my kid. And then that's when I was really starting to see that I was putting on him my own pain. And so then in 5 minutes, their guilt upended, which was such a gift. So what I do is I take what I've learned for myself and have helped myself heal and help others heal. So it was such a beautiful workshop yesterday. But I want to share with you what you love to study in this world, which is why you're on this call, is actually your gift. It's why you're on the planet. Keep going with the slide, or else I'll just keep babbling. All right, a bit about my work. We have the ego and we have spirit. The ego is only the voice of separation. It's the voice that forgot you're the I am. It's the voice that forgot you are love. It's the fear, the anger, the worry, and it's really fast because it's in our nervous system. Very fast. But the true voice of who you are is what I call the I am, the spirit, the love, the consciousness. And when we step here into the I am, no matter how fast and furious the ego is, you learn to step here. And the thing is, it's not just a one thing. It's step here, then you go back, then the ego kicks back in, go back and forth, back and forth. And the more you're willing to go into the I am, the less of the grip the ego has on you. And that's when you really start to heal your stories and you unwind your pain. So it's all about mind retraining, from the mind to the spirit. A lot of the work I do is based on A Course in Miracles. It's based on shadow work, because the truth of who you are, you're not a little body floating on planet Earth around the sun. The truth is you are a child of God. The truth is you are love. And that's actually hard for us to really own, because we're convinced that we're here to prove our worth. We're convinced life has to be hard. We're convinced that, you have to suffer. But the truth of who you are is the I am. So that's all of the work, is mind retraining. And again, I always say it's not a one-off, but the more tools you learn, the more you learn to step into the I am. We basically learn to think like we're 4 years old all the time, or without the temper tantrums, or 2 years old. We learn to have more wonder and awe at the world. Let's see what else I have down here. Okay, I'm going to make some of these slides quick because I can feel that there's some questions here, but we'll keep going. So we've got universal laws and human laws. We'll do human laws first, because we all know what the human laws are. The human laws are that I'm a clump of flesh. I have a parent and I have siblings and I have all these things. And the human laws is I have to go out to the world and prove my worth. The human laws is that the outer world is a threat and I have limited abundance. It's like, okay, whatever you can get, you're lucky. And there's no such thing as a miracle. And with human laws, your fear, your anger, your disappointment, that becomes your set point. Universe's laws are completely the opposite. And that's the thing is, the work isn't hard, but flipping and being aware is the key. Universe's laws is your energy. You create with your thoughts. Your inner world is your outer world. You have access to infinite abundance. You have a miracle a minute. And love, joy, and abundance are your set point. And my work in Return to Self is moving from the human to universal laws. And that's a lot of the work I do. That's what I got here. And at each moment, we have to choose. And we don't realize we choose, because when people first start the program, they're just in the ego. And they step out and they go back in. And that's the work, is to step out, go back, step out, and go, what am I doing? And the more often we do that, the more we actually, see what I do. Sorry, I just moved my slides by accident. My apologies. Told you I'm not techie. 1 second here. We have to choose. Okay, every moment we choose, we bounce between fear and love, trust and guilt. And it's that bouncing is normal. So I'm going to pause for a quick sec. How is this landing? See what's coming up for you guys. How are you guys all doing? Are we all good? Any comments, questions, anything else coming up? We're good, Nessa? Okay, anything coming up for you guys? We're good? Good check, we're good? Good, Leanne? Okay, let's keep going. Feel free to put in questions into the chat box, because when I'm PowerPointing, I can actually see a question popped up, and then I'll just bounce back and forth, but I'll just keep going. It feels like it's landing for the group that's live, which is amazing. Give me a second, let me just go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so we choose. Okay, this is landing. Let's keep going here. There we go. Okay, so what we see around us is the problems of the world. Like I said, I did an event yesterday for about 12.5 people at a friend's house. And the amount of guilt that wires in us is the ego's favorite thing, right? We just go pain, pain, pain. So people come to see intuitive coaches because they want out of that pain. That's what people do. They come because they're tired of the struggle. And they come because they're confused. They're sad, they're depressed, they're anxious, their relationships are falling apart. Their body might hurt, they might be angry. They might feel guilty, they're in pain, they have sadness, and they're just in this wire. So what happens is the demand is through the roof. When I was running my intuitive coaching business, I had a 2-year wait list, which is a good problem. Because what happens is people start to heal their patterns. They send people, in fact, I do this call, then I do the school call, then I have an introduction, which I don't typically do introductions in person, but I have an introduction for the mother of a client of mine. So this client of mine is in one of my programs, and he's finding so much relief. He's 65. He's sending his 85-year-old mother in. Because what happens is when people find relief, they want to help others. Because they've tried everything outside, and they want to go inside. And that's the work I do. That's what Return to Self is all about, is on the inner work. This is a really important slide. So spend a couple minutes here. There's 3 boxes of spiritual development, of self-development, I should say. Or think back to when you first started self-development, way, way, way back for a lot of you. The first step was you realized you weren't happy. You might have heard of law of attraction, thoughts or emotions. You're like, okay, God, you're right. I do think these fearful thoughts. Oh my God. You start doing your journaling, and you're in box 1 going, okay, I can see that I've got this. I can see this. I'm not happy. Let me think positive thoughts. And a lot of people stay in box 1 because they think just by doing that, they can create a new life. And a lot of times they have some very good success, especially at the beginning. And then the longer time goes along, they start to realize they keep going into the same pattern. They might realize they're becoming their father. They might realize, I keep thinking like my mother. And that's when they enter box 2, which I call your shadow box, your inner child work, intergenerational work, when you start looking at your subconscious patterns. That's a pretty hot thing nowadays. There's so much stuff on Instagram and Facebook. And for a lot of you who are on this call with me, you've been in this work for a fairly long time. And you remember when shadow work was still kind of on the outskirts. And now every other post you see is about shadow work. So box 2 is, and these are all things I cover in Return to Self. Box 2 is about, so we have a plethora of people who have been doing shadow work. Oh, I'm like my mother. Oh, I'm like my father. Oh my God, I can see I'm repeating my patterns. And then box 3 is what less and less teachers teach, which is what I emphasize in Return to Self, which is about working with spirit. ACIM stands for Course in Miracles. It's about working with a Course in Miracles. And the key word is a miracle. Where you step into the I am of who you are. And you start working with universal laws. And it's a huge part our return to self training is about retraining the mind from the ego's thought systems to spirit. So what you learn to do is over the 6 months is you learn to work in each of the boxes, but then you can work with clients from every box. So during the program, you learn how to help people in each of those boxes. Okay, so in every session, you learn to support a client, you learn to hear a client, you learn to understand their point, you learn to love them, you learn to use your intuition, you learn to use intuitive guided questions. Your intuition will guide you as this client in box 1, box 2, box 3, and you'll help them in the box 3. And you're not going to pull them between the boxes because spirit will tell you that this client is ready to move to box 3 or this client needs more coaching in box 2. And that's what you learn to do. You actually don't have to do anything, which is the best thing about intuitive coaching. You just have to show up. And when you have your intuition online, then the guides start working with you and talking to you, and then you can help person after person after person. And that's the gift. It's like such a great thing. Oh, it's amazing. And with time, your clients will step from confusion to clarity. They'll feel more ease. They'll use techniques regularly. They'll feel happier. They'll feel healthier. They'll feel more alive and inspired. And then they will start to feel like they are connected to their own guides, which is the best part because our guides are always talking to us. What else do I got here? I went through this. I wanted to put this slide on purpose again. So again, my intention to return to self is to have you start to trust the I am. Step out of the ego, the victim, the victimizer, the hero. Step out of there. Practice being the I am. And I believe that if you're on this call and you're still listening, the reason that you're still listening is because one of your purposes on the planet is to step into the I am and heal your life and be of service to others. That's what I truly believe. I don't believe you've made it this far into the call just to hang out with me. I'm not that exciting. Trust me, I'm not that exciting. But the I am in you has brought you this far. And I really, like, one of my greatest, funnest things is to watch people in the Return to Self container. Since we started this container in September, they're in month 5, month 6 right now. And I get texts from some of the clients. I just signed a client for $800. I just signed a client for this. Oh my God, I'm helping this person. Oh my God. And I helped this client heal their mother wound. I'm like, of course you did. But it's because you're connected to spirit and you spent the time learning it for yourself. And now you're imparting to somebody else because each of your clients are just one step behind you in your development path. And I want you to know there's a lot of clients out there who are waiting. That's the insane thing. Okay. Now this is the actual program. And for those of you who are in the Return to Self, you're going to see some changes. So the program starts in September, or sorry, it starts in February, my apologies, in a couple of weeks. And it's 6 months long, but it's a bit more than 6 months long. There's 3 parts of being an amazing intuitive coach. I want to go through them. The first part is learning to work with your mind. And the more you work with your mind, the more you step out of box 1, box 2, box 3. You're like, oh, look, I'm putting all the meaning there. Oh my God. The second step is to wake up your intuition. And the third step is to learn to thread all the stuff that you're learning with your mind, with your intuition to help another person. Those are the 3 main parcels of being an intuitive coach. I've taught intuitive coaching for 8 years. And having taught hundreds of people, I can tell you that those are 3 ingredients for a successful coach is they have to work on their mind. They have to be tapped into their intuition, and they have to learn how to thread those 2, right? Thread the coaching that they learn with their own mind, that they practice every day, with the intuition to be of service. Now, how do I help you get there? There's 4 steps. Number 1, there's live classes, and the live classes are actually part of another program I run called the Healing Lab. And those are Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock and Thursdays at 5 o'clock. And then the next thing is that we have a 4-day intuition retreat, which is here in Vancouver in April 25th to 28th. And during that time, I teach you to sit across from a stranger and do a reading. And then part 3 of the course is that we have every 2 weeks, we meet on Mondays at 5 p.m. And then alternatively, we meet on Fridays at 9 a.m. It'll all make sense. And that's when you learn to thread the intuition with the live classes. And the last thing is that I've also partnered up with 3 other fabulous intuitive coaches who are on the call right now. And then they do 1-hour readings on you. Got it? And that way you actually get a sense of, okay, this is what an intuitive reading is. That's what they're doing for me as a client. So you actually get 3 plus me. So 4 different people styles, because the style is not the hardest part, but it's the next part to start to grab is what is your style? And you get all of that for a year. But halfway through it, about 4 to 6 months into it, after you attend the retreat in April, you're ready to go. You're ready to start helping clients. But you get all of that for a full year. And that's the main difference, Nissa and Louise. You get it for a full year. And I'll tell you guys tomorrow, don't worry. And that was something that came through really loud on the weekend, like so loud. And but because why do I do it for a whole year even after 6 months? Is because that continuous support is the key. So that people like, say, Nissa and Louise, who are going to be starting their businesses and have already started their businesses, can be with newer people and actually see the combination. And then, you know, like, do you remember when you were in grade, remember doing a split grade, like split grade 2, 3? And you're like, oh, there's the grade 3 kids and I'm in grade 2. And you'd be like, that's where I'm going. That benefit is a benefit of being in it for 6 months and having somebody just a few steps ahead of you who are constantly working with you. I think there was a comment. So give me a second. I'm going to run back to the chat group and see. I think there was a comment. I have a coaching client at 9 o'clock, 9:30. No problem, Barbara. Thank you. Oh, Barbara wrote it's a life coaching course. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. Let me just go back to the PowerPoint. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. Okay. I swear I need a tech thing. There we go. I figured it out. Yay. Okay. So that's how the program is set up. So in 6 months, you'll start your business, but you've got this access for a year. More about the program. You also have something called a pod group where I ask you to meet a minimum of twice a month. That's where you get to practice coaching. Like I said, you're going to get 3 sessions with certified coaches who are going to say hi to you in a minute. You got the intuition weekend here in the city. And you can come back to that intuition as often as you want. Okay. So what's covered is lunches, snacks. Not covered is accommodations and travels and other meals. But that's part of it. And it's so much fun. So much fun. The result is you start to experience miracles all the time. And your intuition is high and you start having a wait list because everything that you heal, the person who's like one step behind you is looking for you because they're knocking your door and going, look, I know you did it and I'm right here. I want help too. Let's jump into the investment style slide and then I'll put questions. So if you did any 12-month coaching program out in the market right now, the average price is about 20 grand, just so you guys know. In case you didn't know, that's the average price, for 10 to 20 grand, give or take. We do the 4-day retreat here in the city. That's usually about 1,500 or 2,000. We have a pod group. So that's regular, right? Small group coaching where I meet with you guys. That's usually about 2,500. Then you have 3 one-hour sessions with these fabulous coaches, and each of them charge about $500 each. So that's about 1,500. Then lifetime access to the content. You guys have that forever. Meditations, Course in Miracles. That's about $2,500. So total value of the program, if I broke it up, is about 28 grand, give or take. And what I charge for the program is 8 grand for the year. So that's and Nissa and Louise, there's slight differences from your guys's, just as you probably noticed. And what else? So why join now? Because the sooner you start, the sooner you get the pre-recorded material. And the other thing to know too is, and I've seen this too many times, the transformation occurs the minute you start the transaction. That's just how the universe works. It's actually a slide. That's a quote from Tony Robbins. He talks about it a lot. The moment you make the transaction, the moment you start the transformation. I'm all about your transformation. What else do I have on these fun slides? Questions? Are you ready? The people ask me all the time, can I just take this program for myself and self-development? The answer is yes, 100%. In the 8 years that I taught ICT, we had about 50% of people who did it just for themselves. And that's a cool thing to do too, trust me. So far, since I've started Return to Self, probably about 80% have been more to become coaches, about 20% are self-development. And you're going to get the self-development as part of it. It's just, you're going to get so much coaching from all your new friends, new people like me who are going to be in your face all the time. What else do I want to tell you guys about Pro? You all know my mission statement. I'm going to leave that because I already said it. Actually, no, I'm going to repeat it. Then I'm going to open up to Q&A. And Sharon and Terrell, if you guys want to share anything, feel free to. And Bart and Nis and Louise, if you do too, that'd be amazing. My mission. I want to empower people because I know how hard it is to be in your head with intuition and spiritual techniques so that you can gain clarity, step into your life mission. And your life mission might be the best mom in the world. Your life mission might be to heal the pain of patriarchy. Your life mission might be to coach 1 million people. And the more of us that do that, the more we have love, joy, peace, and abundance as your dominant vibration. So that's a bit about my slides. That's a bit about the Return to Self coaching program. Yeah, let's open up to Q&A, questions, see what's coming up for you guys. Sharon, Nissa, Louise, Terrell, do any of you guys want to share anything as we open up? Go for it, Sharon.
I'll share. Yeah. So I'm Sharon. I'm an intuitive coach. I have been since 2018. I took Divi's first ICT intuitive coach training with Lynette. And it's been amazing to see Divi's evolution. So this new program really is evolutionary. I've been part of her programs since 2018, and this container that she's created will really, really help you elevate and up level in your life, your relationships, your business, whatever you do. You don't, even if you're not, you don't want to be a coach, even if you just, you're just volunteering somewhere. Like the amount that your heart will expand, which will then create an expansion in your life, which will then create all kinds of abundance and unexpected miracles, is just phenomenal. And I've seen this. I've been working now with this group, this one that's in the container right now, and I have seen them transform, like literally before my eyes, week by week by week. So it's really exciting for me to be a part of Divi's team, and yeah, like the expansion, the transformation. You won't even believe you're the same person, like it within 6 months.
Thank you, Sharon. So kind. Anyone else? Yeah, Nessa, go ahead.
I think I have a different I think I started with in a different place than most of the other
Yeah.
current students in Return to Self, which is why I think I can give, in case there's somebody who's interested, who's already done like 10, 15 other healing modalities. I would say that even if you think that, you already have a practice and you've got this, and what can I possibly learn? I can attest to the fact that, like, having completed, several other certifications and courses, that I also, in the beginning, I started out, was like, well, I know she has to start from the beginning in case there's like the whole spectrum of students who started from the very beginning. And at some point, I don't even know when exactly. I mean, definitely the intuitive retreat itself, the in person, like that is worth the whole price of the whole program itself. I would say those 4 days, like if you can't do anything else, go to the 4 days. It's totally worth the whole, 8,000. It could be 10,000, seriously, itself. And then yeah, at some point, like as you're going through and you think like, oh, that's beginner stuff, and then boom, it just hits you, and you're like, where did this come from? Like, I had so many breakthroughs myself that I was just like, how is this possible? I'm a healer. I've been healing myself every day, voraciously for like 4 years nonstop, and still finding hidden shadows and stuff that I'm like, wow, blown away. So I highly recommend this. I mean, most of us, because this first container was only 6 months, like most of us are like, wait, it's going to be over. What are we going to do? Like, everybody's like in panic mode. Like, what are we going to do now? So it's nice to hear that this is going to be like an entire year. And yeah, I hope that helps for the ones who maybe already have a lot of experience and have their own practice already, just to give that extra perspective. Thank you so much, Divi. It has been life-changing.
Thank you. And before I hear some more testimonials, I want to show you guys something as to how the mind works, which is what Nish is talking about. I'm going to put it into the chat box for those of you who are live and can see it. So I want you to imagine it. This is like layers of the mind. For those of you listening to the recording, you won't see the chat box, so get a pen out. So layers of the mind, I'm going to start in the middle. Okay, so the end result of the mind is perception. We'll go to the middle. So there's going to be 5 layers. And Nissa and Louise, who are in the program, don't know this. I haven't taught them this yet, but this is what's been happening over the 6 months. So the outer layer is perception. Okay, so put that on the outside. But on the inner box, okay, the inner box, you're either connected to God, I am, or not. That's the inner layer. Okay, that's the first box. Now, if I had a Venn diagram, you would see it. That's the first box. The second box is your belief systems. Okay, and I'm going to use an example in a second. And then the next box after that is your thoughts. The next box after that is emotions. And the next box after that is perception. This is how the mind works. So what's happened in the Return to Self container, they don't know this because I haven't taught them this yet, but this is what I've been doing with them. And I'm going to give you an example. So in yesterday's class, there was a woman out there who had a perception that she was a terrible mom and her kids didn't like her. Okay, cool, perception. But then we worked our way backwards to the God I am or not. So what she realized was that she didn't believe she was connected to God, right? She thought she was this human. And she thought she had to, and then she had to prove her worth. So her first step, the middle part of the Venn diagram, she was like, I'm not enough. Then her belief system was, I'm not a good human. I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good human. I have to prove my worth. Then her thought was, in order to prove my worth, I have to be a good mother. Then her emotions were fear, because in order to know I'm worthy. Then her perception was, my kids don't like me because I'm guilty and feeling bad all the time. When she realized the origin was because she didn't think that she was come to the divine mother, boom, it changed, boom. And that's what happens in 6 months. And that's what's been happening. And that's why you guys get it for a year. Don't even ask me why, because they came in and yelled at me on the weekend, but that's okay. Because I was working with this Venn diagram. And they said, oh, Divi, the reason you are so busy all the time is you have a belief system that you have to work really hard in order to teach the work, but don't do that anymore. You're killing yourself here. That's why the program's changed, Nessa and Louise, who are in it. The other three know because they listened to me all weekend. And as I changed that belief, they're like, do it this way. I was like, oh my God, that totally makes sense. And so then what happens is the thoughts start to shift and the emotions and the perception. So what happens in return to self that Nissa so beautifully spoke about is because the central core that you are the divine, and I plunge it into your brain nonstop for 6 months. Then gradually over time, your beliefs start to shift, your thoughts start to shift, your emotions and perceptions start to shift, and that's how your life shifts. That's just analysis of how the mind works. That's layers. Tara, Louise, do either of you guys want to share before I open up to Q&A? Go for it, Louise. You're so cute.
Sorry, it takes me a while. I'm not technical either. Yeah, I'm more than happy to share. So I'm in the same pod group as Nissa, which is brilliant.
Great.
So I know, so I can give that perspective as well about the pod stuff, because it's phenomenal. So my perspective, again, like Nissa said, is different. I think from probably most people that might come on this, but if some people have the same, it hopefully will give some reassurance. My background is absolutely nothing to do with anything to do with any of this whatsoever. I'd never heard of shadow work, didn't have the faintest idea what it was, what it meant. In a child, I thought was some distant relation. It was just all brand new. And I guess my worries when I first started the course was that I'd be so far behind everybody else and wouldn't understand and wouldn't be able to keep up. And I have, and it's absolutely changed so much. And I mean, thank God, Divi has got the most patience of anyone in the world. So has Nissa. You know, we have, like I say, we have this pod group, and yes, you know, Divi suggests, you know, doing it a couple of times a month. We do week in, week out, without fail. We haven't missed a week. We do every week. There's 4 of us in it, and we all hang on to this group. It's like a lifeline, and that's for me, who started at the very beginning, and for someone like Nissa, who's a goddess and knows everything and talks to all manner of people. And I sit there open mouthed at most of it, thinking, "Oh my God's name, does she do this? It's like magic." But honestly, it's mind blowing, and for all I still don't know the path of what I'm going to do with this, the amount that it's changed me and has helped me help other people, just within a normal everyday walk of life, even if I did nothing more with it, is so valuable. You know, I'd like to think I can. You know, I've got a long way to go, but you know, I mean, it's music to me is that we can keep doing this for another 6 months, because honestly, I was starting to get separation anxiety before we'd even gotten to the end. So it's phenomenal. But sorry, I ramble an awful lot. I will shut up. But the takeaway is, it doesn't matter whether you know loads and everything about it, or you're literally at the very beginning. The group is phenomenal. You will have your hand held all the way through it, and you will never feel silly. You will never feel stupid. There are no silly questions. I've asked a few, more to Nissa and partly than Divi. I won't embarrass myself doing that to you, but my God, Nissa, Jesus, the stuff I've thrown her way. There's nothing that's too silly, you know, and everyone's just got this endless patience and wants you to achieve everything that everyone else has. You know, when people are sharing these messages on the group and saying what they've done, and they've got clients and they've helped, you know, family members and friends, it's the most heartwarming thing and uplifting thing in the world. And I say that as a very stoic English person that, doesn't really do feelings, and if I can think that, then every bugger can feel that. So please do it. It is the best thing you'll ever do. And I will now shush and let someone else speak.
Thank you, Louise. And guys, just so you know, I did not email or text any of these guys to show up to share. So thank you, Louise. Thank you, Nessa. I really appreciate it. Anyone else want to share comments, questions? Terrell, anyone else want to hop on, or any questions that are coming up for you guys before yeah, Terrell, go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up. First of all, Louise, you're so bloody adorable. I can't stand it. Geez, that was the best. Hi, everybody. I'm Terrell. I'm one of Divi's assistants. I'm also one of Divi's graduates in this work. And regardless of whether or not this is something you want to do, as you know, as Divi is explaining and teaching, to do this as a profession, it will. I came in thinking I was just doing this for me because I really wanted to grow and learn, which I did. And I was the one, Divi talks about her pod groups, and I was the only one in the pod group who said, no, I'm not doing anything with this. I'm just doing this for me. And at the time, I was the only one who actually graduated and then started to do it. And I've been doing it ever since. So that's 4 years, 4 or 5, I can't remember. But anyway, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing way to meet new people. It's a way of digging deep in and finding out who you are and what makes you tick, whether you're a parent, a school teacher, coworker, whatever it may be, running your own business in the corporate world. It will certainly help you find a different way of looking at things. And certainly this time around with Divi really focusing in on the A Course in Miracles, that is mind-boggling and life-changing, and it just changes your whole perspective. And you come from such a place of love, and it's a really great time. So the fact that you're getting this for the year, in addition to the 6 months and all the other things that go with it, is really a bonus. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate that. Amazing. Any other questions? I'm going to teach you guys a bit more about intuition, but I want to know if there are any questions before I teach you guys a bit more about intuition. Give you guys a minute to see if there is anything. All right, let's talk about intuition because we still have a bit of time. Okay. People who are drawn to this work don't realize how intuitive they are. There's 4 main ways our guides speak to us, and you'll learn how to use it consciously. So I'm going to teach you guys. I didn't know if I would put this on the slide, so I didn't. There's 4 main ways. One is clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, and clairvoyance. And you'll learn them, especially when you come to the in-person part of Vancouver. What are those words? Everybody on the call probably has experienced goosebumps or tingles or that deep guttural knowing of what to do, that inner knowing. That's called your clairsentience, your gut knowing. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually 4 channels, but that's just one. And a lot of times when we overuse one, it can actually cause problems in our bodies, in our lives, if we're overusing one and not using the other, or we're using the one and I can pick up other people's stuff. So why am I so good at what I do is because I can pick up Deborah's body issues from over here because I'm using my clairsentience. I can pick up Karina's stuff from over here because I'm using my clairsentience. When I didn't know I was doing that, and I worked as a family doctor, I'd put my hands on a patient, or they'd be in my office, and I'd be picking up their emotions, and I'd feel it in my body, and I wouldn't know that was going on. And I'd go home, and then slowly over time, I got quite sick. And I was like, what is this? Not realizing that their emotions were landing on me and not knowing I was doing that. That's clairsentience. Then there's another one called clairvoyance, which is to see pictures, which I never knew I had when I first started. I only thought I had clairsentience. But when you actually open all 4, then when you're doing a reading, you get an intuitive, like you get the feeling in your body, but then you get a picture at the same time. It's like, whoa, okay, can't make this shit up. Then the third one is claircognizance, which are thought insertions, the knowings. And then clairaudience, which is to hear, which is actually your voice. I have a funny story for you guys. So yesterday I was teaching a guilt workshop at my friend's place, Jeremy. And he took the intuitive coaching training program years ago. So I was teaching at his house, and he lives maybe 15 minutes away from me. And I'll make this short story very short, but I use a car sharing company here in the city called Evo, and my husband and I also share a car that we have, but he was working yesterday. So I was using Evo, or I could take an Uber, but I decided to use the car sharing. And I had this like, maybe I should take an Uber. I was like, no, I want to take Evo. Okay. But then I had this intuitive thought, because he lives, if you're from Vancouver, he lives up near 50th Avenue and I live on First, kind of like 50 blocks away. I'm like, what if I can't take the car that far? And that intuitive thought came into my head. I was like, huh. And then I heard, no, don't worry about it. Like, okay, don't worry about it. Okay. And then the thought came in, what if I can't find it? Or there were other thoughts, but what if an Uber, and it was like really like, really quick thoughts, right? The intuitive thought came in, what if I can't take the Evo that far? Anyway, so I'm driving out there in my Evo, and the car thinks that I'd get there at 12:56. Workshop started at 1. It's about guilt. 12:56, and I go past 49th. I have to turn left on 51st, so it's 2 blocks away. Then it's about half a block after you turn 51st. So I get up to 51st, I hit the left turn signal, and then the car stops. I'm like, oh! And it starts yelling at me, you're out of the car jurisdiction, you're out of the car jurisdiction. You're like, what? And it said, you're leaving the boundary, you're leaving the boundary. I'm like, and then it said, you've left the Vancouver boundary. And I was like, okay. And I've got to be there in 4 minutes. So I turned around and started driving backwards past 49. And it was like, you are now in boundary. I'm like, oh, okay. So I tried to pull up and park. It wouldn't let me do it. I had to do it a few times before I could park. And I'm like 3 blocks away. It's now 1:01. I'm now late for the workshop. So I'm laughing inside. I'm laughing. Because I had the intuitive nudge. What if? But I had this intuitive nudge. And I drive out there and then I hopped out of the car. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to walk. So I called an Uber. He came right away, got there, walked into a workshop 6 minutes late on guilt. And I burst out laughing and I walked in. And they all thought it was funny too. Because the funniest thing was, in the past, I would have taken myself right into guilt. But having done this work for so long, but especially with the Return to Self program, I know that everything is of the God Soul. Now, what the ego can say is you didn't listen to your intuition and take an Uber. You didn't listen to your intuition. But I did hear my intuition. I heard, what if it can't go that far? And it was all part of the whole thing. And that's the funniest thing, is you stop taking things so seriously. You learn that it's all part of the divine plan. And when you start, and then everybody else who was there was laughing. They thought it was hilarious. But when you start to trust the divine plan, see, you don't take things so seriously and you can laugh at yourself. Because some people turn to intuition from this idea of, if I have it, then nothing's going to screw up in my life. And intuition is not about, let's not make sure everything's all screwed up. Intuition is this gentle guide that can make you laugh more often and make you smile more often. And people use intuition like, how do I know I'm safe and not getting sick? And that's control and fear. That's the ego. Because the divine has a much bigger intention. And apparently what happened in the 6 minutes before I got there was because it was a group of people who didn't know each other. They were like 3 people knew each other, 3 people knew each other, 4 people didn't know each other. Like, it was all a mix of different groups that I know. And it was wild. So they had a chance to mesh their energies, get comfortable, and they're all sitting in the circle when I got there. Normally when I get there, when I show up for a workshop, they're coming in, the energy's frantic. And then, and normally what happens is, if I'm there and I'm greeting people as they come in, what's happening is I'm picking up their energies as they're coming in. I don't know if that happens to you, Sharon, but I'm picking up their energies. Then before I start, I'm always already a little bit like, I picked up everybody's energies. That didn't happen at all yesterday because I walked in 4 minutes late. So I just like ran right into it and just started teaching right away. And it was like, and I realized after, that's a great way to start, not necessarily 4 minutes late, but without greeting it. So there was like so much learning from the Evo not crossing the boundary at 49. It's like, oh, that's why I got the guidance not to take an Uber. Super cool. So now when I teach events in person, which I do usually about once a month, I've got to stay behind, because what happens is people come in, they hug me, they say, I haven't met you before, but my name's Joe. It's so nice to meet you. I heard about you. And they just tell me their life story before I start teaching. And then when I start teaching, there's always a bit of this before I start, because I've just picked up 30 people's energies. But yesterday I had a chance to walk in 5 minutes late, not know very many people that were there, and just start. And there was none of this. And I was like, oh, how easy is that? Get somebody else to do the meet and greets, walk in 5 minutes late, or right on time, and start. And so understanding that the ego has a plan, but the divine is constantly teaching us. Constantly teaching us. And your intuition can say, should I take an Uber, take an Evo? And does the Evo go that far? But it's not to, create a life of safety, but it's like constant evolution. Just like on the weekend when I was working with that Venn diagram that I taught you guys, God, I am inside, or not, belief, thought, emotion, perception. And then that caused me to shift how the program is laid out. It's like, oh, Spirit was talking to me. Got it? So the work never ends. It never ends. All right, I'll see if there's any comments, questions. If not, we'll do a wrap. I'll just give you guys a minute. Any questions, comments, anything coming up for you guys? Take a breath. All right, let's do a closing meditation. Let's go and close our eyes. Take a few breaths. With your eyes closed, take a long breath in and a slow breath out. Take a deep breath in and a quiet breath out. Just breathe. If you've never done this before, we're going to go into mini meditation before we wrap. With your eyes closed, take yourself into a place in nature. Visit your guides, your divine support team, your angels, your ancestors. Just breathe. All of our guides are here to just love us. The one I want you to work with right now is the energy of the Divine Mother. Let her energy step forward and walk up to you as you breathe. Allow her to put one hand on your heart and place another hand on your third eye. And I invite you to be open to the concept. She is part of you and you are part of her. There is no separation. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. All fear, anxiety, anger, worry only occurs when we perceive separation. So just stay here for a few minutes. Just breathe. Just breathe. The I am in you is speaking to you. Slow breath in, long breath out. And just settle here. Deep belly breath in, long belly breath out. Now when you're ready, start to open your eyes. Oh, there's a question here. Okay, there's a question coming in saying, what are my monthly payments for this course, given that it's shifted it? Okay, perfect. So the monthly payments, and I know a few of you are here. Hey, Tina. A few of you are here. The payment, so it's all Canadian money. So it's $8,000 all at once, or you can pay it in 12 payments of $666.67. Angel numbers, 666 is a very lucky number. It's like, don't worry about money. It's all good. So it's actually the same amount of money. It's 12 payments of 666 or $8,000 all at once. I hope that answers your question. What that includes, it includes the 12 months that we spoke about. It includes the online classes, the pod group, the coaching classes, teaching how to integrate them, all that stuff, the business stuff. What it does not include, it includes lunches at the events and snacks. What it does not include is accommodation. It does not include travel to the event. It doesn't include the other meals, which are typically dinner and breakfast, but that's the price point. So hope that helps. Any other questions before we wrap? Amazing. Okay. And so for those of you guys that are in my school container, and if you don't know, I'll stick in my school. Oh, you're welcome. I'll stick in my school link here. So I also run a program, I have an online, what is it called? An online group called School. And if you want to join me there, I'm going to be doing a free school call right now. I'll stick in the Zoom link in case you want to join me. I know a few people just wandered in just in the last few minutes. So if you thought the call was at 10, I totally respect that. But here's the Zoom link. I'll put into the chat box that's the Zoom link for where we're going to be heading right now. Oops, I'm sending that to you. I didn't mean to do that. Send to everyone. There we go. I'll see if it went through to everybody. It might have, might not have. Anyways, if you want to join me on school, I'll be there next. So can you stay for your school? Can't stay for school. Oh, no problem. No problem, Deb. Okay, so that is the school link if you want to join me. I think that worked. I don't know if it did or not. So I hope you guys see that. Oh, no, it didn't work. 1 second, guys. Like I said, not that techie woman. Let's see. That may not have worked. All right. Hopefully see you in your school. Okay, I'm just going to wide because it's not working. All right. Lots of love, guys. I'll see you in the school call. Take care. Leanne, yes, you can send them to me. For sure, Leanne. Just send me scheduling questions. No problem at all. You can text or email me. That's cool, Leanne. No problem at all. Cool. Amazing, guys. I'll see you on school.